Well, after 6, so we'll get this meeting open tonight, and this is our regular County Commissioners District, 2nd District meetings. Ben Brown, John Thorpe, of course, nearly everybody knows me, Brady Revis, are our 2nd District, Lincoln County 2nd District Commissioners. And that's what this meeting is tonight. As you know, some of you attended several of the meetings. I think we've had 4 meetings here as informer, trying to be informative to our people here in the 2nd District. And this is all we represent, is the 2nd District. We can't do any kind of business tonight of any kind. What we're hoping is to get input from you all, and hopefully you may have some questions that someone can answer. We're proud to have some state reps with us tonight, and in a little bit Don's going to introduce them, and they may have some comments they'll want to make. We're really proud to have this good a turnout. And as I said, this is a 2nd District, Lincoln County Commissioners informal meeting only. There is another issue that I understand is going to be brought up tonight, but at the proper time we will adjourn our meeting and turn it over to their representatives, and I don't know exactly who that might be. But we as the county commissioners here in the 2nd District have nothing whatsoever to do with the other issue. It's just a thing that was asked if they could utilize the same time frame that we are having our commissioners meeting, which is fine. And at the appropriate time we'll turn it over to them, and they'll have their meeting. So we're really proud everyone has come. Hope we can shed some light on some things that you might have questions about, and maybe you will we'll be able to help you all in a way. That's exactly what John and Ben and myself started these meetings for, is to try to make the communities more aware of what's going on in the state and county and county especially government. And I've only been a commissioner 7 years, and I don't know much about it now, but I certainly have learned a lot. And some of you sitting out there tonight is wondering, why in the world don't they do this? Well, I found out why a lot of the time. Why in the world don't they do this? I found out a lot of that too. But that's just a drop in the bucket to what several of us that's been here longer than I have has found out over the years. You don't just, I'm not saying you can't make a difference. We can, all of us can make a difference, but we're trying to get more input from our people in the county, or in our 2nd District. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to John. If you will, John, I'm going to let you introduce our guest here tonight, and then
I'm going to start down here at the end. Sheriff Lincoln County, Murray Blackwelder, glad to have him. We have Congressman Scott Desjardins, Field Representative, Mr. Isaiah Robinson with us, all the way from Winchester, glad he's here. District 2 School Board Representative, Mr. Dexter Sullivan, is here if you have any questions about school in the 2nd District. Sheriff Norman Dalton from Marshall County, the sheriff. There's no Ben Grady, myself. We have our state representative Pat Marsh here. And Pat has somewhere to be at a later date. At a later time, so he'll have to leave early. We understand that, but we'll let you, if you have any comments, anything, go right ahead before we get started.
I really appreciate you all asking me to come, and John called me, and I appreciate you all having these meetings. I think it's very good for your district in Lincoln and Marshall County to be able to come together and understand what's going on and ask some questions and maybe find out some things that are misunderstood and work them out. And I think it's better to do it now than have a lot of gossip and everybody get really mad about it and it really flare up and really become something terrible. So I think it's a great idea. I was born in Petersburg and stayed here the first part of my life here in Petersburg and Howell. So I've got a real affection for Petersburg, and I hope that the town keeps to continue to grow and come alive like it seems to be doing now. I wanted to just tell you real quickly some of the things that we're doing in the state government as in the legislature in Nashville, which I'm part of. I've been there for 4 years, got elected in a special election in 2009, and didn't really know, I'm like John, and Grady, I didn't know a whole lot about it until I got up there, and I feel like I've learned a lot, but I still got a lot to learn. And people that talk about really short-term limits, I think that you really need to think about that. Again, I'm all for term limits, but I don't think it needs to be a few years. You got to be maybe 8 to 12 years before you figure out what's going on. And in the past year, I was appointed as chairman of one of the committees. I'm a chairman of Business and Utilities Committee, which I was very honored to be appointed. And I found out about being a chairman, you have big responsibility. You control a lot of people's thoughts and can help a lot of people or hurt a lot of people. So everything that we do, you have to really study it and make sure that you listen to both sides of every issue so that you don't mess up. And I've had to learn that hard way in some of the things. But well, I want to tell you real quickly some of the highlights of last year's session. We started the first Tuesday of January, which we always start. We start next January, the second Tuesday. And we got out on April the 19th this past year, which was the earliest we've gotten out in over 50 years. My first year as a state rep in 2010, we went 2 months longer than we did this past year. So we're doing it a lot more efficiently. I think we're getting a lot of things done in a business-like manner. We're starting on time. We get right down to business. The Speaker of the House this year imposed a 15 bill limit on all of the state reps. Last year we had a rep that I know of that had over 125 bills. This year the most anybody could carry was 15. And 15 is a lot for me. I don't like to carry any. I think the less government we have, the better off we'll be. Any of my bills that I really want to that I care about are trying to do away with some of the laws we already have, and doing away with some of the regulations that we have. This past year we cut taxes on our food. Year before last we cut it from 5.5% down to 5.25%. This past year we cut it from 5.25% down to 5%. It's going to save the state about I'm going to save the citizens of the state about $43 million. We put $100 million in the rainy day fund, which is a savings account. We balanced the budget, which we're mandated to do in the state government, and the budget is $32.6 billion. That's a lot of money. And about half of that money comes from the federal government, which is really our money. What we pay in income taxes comes back down to the state, and the state spends it on education and roads and jails and prisons and everything else like that. So the other $16 billion comes from sales taxes, franchise and excise taxes, and fees and things like that. So it's a big budget, and we're mandated to balance it every year, which I'm certainly glad we do. We eliminated a lot of old and useless laws, and like I said, we ended earliest in 50 years. Some bullet points that I'd like to share with you real quickly is I'm really proud of what we're doing in the state of Tennessee. We've got a very efficient, business-like governor who's brought a lot of people in that are on his staff, that are commissioners, that a lot of them had to take a big pay and cut. Some of them take no money. He's asked them to come in. Some of them he's begged to come in and head up these commissions and agencies because they know what they're doing. And I think he's got some great people surrounding him that understand about business, understand about money, and understand how to run a government in an efficient manner. We've got the lowest debt per citizen of any state in the nation, which I'm really proud of that. We had a bill this past year to change the way that our state retirement system works, to make it a lot stronger and a lot more efficient for years to come, which I think is a great business idea. We're the #1 state in the Southeast for high-quality jobs. We're the 3rd best managed state in the nation. And these are from a lot of publications, national publications, that have ranked us like that. We're the 4th best state in the nation for business. And we're the #1 best state in the nation for retirement. And when we passed the law last year doing away with the gift tax, We also passed a law doing away with the estate or death tax. We're phasing that out. By 2016, there will be no estate tax in Tennessee. So we feel like that is attracting a lot of people to come to Tennessee to retire. It's keeping a lot of people that have money from moving to states like Florida and retiring and dying there because they don't have any estate tax. So I think it's a great goal for our state to cut some of these taxes out, and we're going to see a lot more revenue come in. And a lot of the people that come here and stay here to retire, you don't have the schools that you have to keep up for them. There's a lot of costs that are not associated with those folks. So it's a great way to run it. And I'm very proud that we're #1 in the nation retiring, because I plan on staying here and retiring. And I hope we all do. I'm very proud to serve the 62nd District, which is all of Bedford and most of Lincoln. I think we've got the 2 best counties in the state. I love our 2 counties. People have asked me if I want to move up to be in a Senate or another job, and I say, heck no. I love my 2 counties. I don't want any more places to have to go. I don't want to take it. I love taking calls from our people, and I think that's a perfect mix. I think we get a lot of good things done, and I really appreciate you sending me to Nashville. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. We're going to get right into our open forum questions. We usually just start right on the front row and go around. If anybody has any questions, please ask them. Say we have Pat here from the state. If you have any state questions, we have law enforcement. If you have any law enforcement questions, Isaiah's here from Congressman Dejolay's office. If you have any federal questions, I'm sure he'll be delighted to take those. And school board questions, Dexter's here. So if you have any questions, like Grady said about the correctional facility, please save those until we are done with this regular meeting, and those will be addressed as well. We'll start right on the front row. Sam?
I'm fine right now.
All right.
Yeah, I've just come to observe.
All right.
I'm Terry Tudor, live here in Petersburg. What kind of prison is this going? We're here to talk about the proposed prison that will be somewhere around here. Is that's correct?
Well, this is the 2nd district meeting. That will be addressed after this meeting is
I'm
over.
sorry.
But I appreciate you coming. It'll be addressed
I don't hear
a
you.
bit later. Oh, you're fine.
I'm just visiting.
All right. Miss Barb?
I don't have anything right now, but I'm sure I will.
I forgot to mention we have several city officials here with us, several aldermen and mayor as well. Bill? 3rd row? Might get off easy. Alan, I know you got something to say. Anybody? Anybody got any? All right.
See, I got here late, but I'm going to catch up with that. I've been told from some neighbors and friends that there might be a proposal about prison coming for these things, and at least probably got that first half of I want to at least kind of find out what's going on. So that's what I'm here.
All right. We'll be done with this meeting in just a few minutes, looks like. Somebody
I'm late, probably misinformed, but I wanted to come in, went back to get
appreciate you coming. Y'all got anything? Y'all think we're doing a great job? No complaints? I like that.
John, I know it's gonna be that
We're
easy.
trying.
I don't,
Can we get a raise? I'm kidding. I'm joking. Isaiah, you got anything you want to say? You got an update from Washington? I know there's a lot going on up there.
Sure. I just want to echo what Mr. Marsh said. It's definitely an honor to be here. Appreciate the commissioners for inviting us. Unfortunately, the congressman couldn't make it. He is in Washington today. As most of you all know, there are pretty important legislation coming up. The Obamacare and continuing resolution that are connected together. Most of you know it, more commonly known as defunding Obamacare. And so that is coming up tomorrow for the votes. As most of you all know, the congressman is not a big fan of Obamacare and is definitely not going to support Obamacare as it is written. I definitely am here to field any questions, any with the federal government. I brought my pad here as well to take notes, because I'll be honest, I don't have all the answers to the federal government, but at the very least I can get them to him, to forward it to him to answer those questions. So feel free at any time to ask any questions. I'll do my best to answer. So thank you.
Appreciate you being here, Isaiah. Sheriff, got anything to say?
I'm just here to see what's happening too.
Dexter?
The school system is doing great. Y'all may have read in the paper, and it's pretty exciting that we have received a grant from the state for enhancing the teachers' salaries. We're going to get $1 million a year for 3 years. So we're going to do a lot of enhancing. That's pretty exciting to us, especially to the teachers. Okay, any questions?
What's the source of the funding of that grant? Federal or state? Federal or state grant?
Probably both. But no county taxpayer money involved at all.
That was $1 million grant per year.
For how many years?
3.
3 years. Are you gonna raise it, or is it just gonna be bonuses?
A little bit of both. It's going to be, majority of it will be, it hasn't been approved yet. We're the one of 3 school districts that are having this honor, ability, whatever. We're the first one to submit it back to the state. Once we get the okay from the state, we'll know exactly how it's going to be. It's going to be bonuses and a little salary. Mostly bonuses for performance.
What's gonna happen when that 3 years is up, and they're gonna have to take a salary cut?
Can't cut the salary.
Make it up?
Can't cut the salary. No cutting salaries. So the majority of it will be.
It won't be a 3-year deal, it'll be a permanent deal.
Not necessarily. It is required that we have to sustain it for 2 years after that.
The county does.
The school board does.
Then what happens after that 2 years?
The probability, well, no. I don't know. I may not even be here by then. But I can assure you that the folks that are on the board now and with the administration of the education department, it will not be a cost to the taxpayer of Lincoln County.
Couple questions. Will this money go to teachers or to administrators, administrating or school board administrators? And 2, is it based on performance, or is it like so many of the teachers we hear about that are really not any good, but they keep getting their raises or bonuses and you can never get rid of them?
Pat, you want to tell them what the...
Well, I read it in the paper today, and it says that it's over, the teachers that get a good evaluation, if they're a 5, which is the highest you can get, it was like $900. If you get a 4, it was $600. If you get a 3, it was $300. If you get a 2 or a 1, you get nothing. So it's basically how good they are doing in their evaluations, which is educating students. That's the way I read it.
I hope you was going to tell that the evaluation system that y'all passed, if you could go with that rather than the pay.
The evaluation is by their test scores. It's how the students have done this year compared to last year. If they move up in their test scores, and that teacher gets a good evaluation. If they don't, it's several different ways to evaluate. There's several different things that go into it. It's not just the test. It's their supervisor, but it's mainly the test and how the students are achieving in school. And the teachers that do a great job get more money. And they also get more money if they're teaching science and math, I believe.
Now, you're getting ahead of it. That hadn't been approved yet. The evaluation system that passed by the state was that each teacher is evaluated, I'm not sure, if they're 1, 2s, or 3s, I think they're evaluated 3 or 4 times. If they're 5s, they're evaluated once, and then they can skip a year. The system was input by the state so that it identifies teachers who are not performing up to par. That will then give the central office the insight to help those teachers, to help them improve. If there is such a teacher that they can improve, then they'll get to work. They'll find another occupation.
You may have said it, but I didn't understand. Now, is all this money going to teachers?
It'll be teachers and administrators. The large percentage of it is to the teachers.
What's the possibility, excuse me, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What's the possibility of eliminating the cabinet department of education and bringing those dollars that go to Washington, don't put them through the washing machine, but bring them back to Nashville and let folks at the state level control those monies so that you're not worried about $1 million, you're worried about much more than that and how to administrate it and teach or allow Tennessee to be sovereign as it relates to our teachers and our education of our students.
Way above our pay grade.
I think that's the way it was set up in the beginning, Sam. It was supposed to be a state, education was supposed to be a state job. Now the federal government's sort of taking it over, and that's another, I don't know if they'll ever get anything straightened out there on that. You have to ask Ida.
I think that's a very good question. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. There's been a concerted effort to push money back to the states. We know that the states have more idea of what needs to be done. Unfortunately, not all members of Congress feel that way, but definitely the congressman being on the Education and Workforce Committee is definitely pushing to get that money back here at the states.
Need to push the authority back to the state, give the states the authority that they were meant to have.
Well, and I agree 100% with that. And if you kind of look at the test scores from the Department of Education, you can definitely see that there hasn't been much done through the Department of Education. What works in Tennessee may not work in Oregon and vice versa. So we want to give that authority back to the state of Tennessee and make sure that they have that authority to do the right thing and do what they know, instead of someone in Washington, D.C. making a one-size-fits-all plan that doesn't work in all states.
I've got a question, and I guess I'm going to appear dumb to everybody, but when I was in school here in Petersburg, in grade school, we had 7 teachers, 8 teachers, and one of the 8 teachers was a principal also. And we didn't have any, that's it. We didn't have any aides. We didn't have, we did have school superintendent and probably school board representatives, but we didn't have all this administration stuff, and I'm not really sure what administrators do and why do they get bonuses. Because they have nothing to do with students learning, as I understand it. And another thing, I have a sister that's a teacher in the national school system. She cannot fail a student, whether they get to work or not. They can sit there all year long and do nothing. And I don't reckon they even have to take a test, but she's not allowed to fail them. So, I don't know, all this money that we keep getting appropriated to the schools for education, she also said she's not seen a dime of it in the school room. It goes for administrators, and I don't know, buying Lexus cars and stuff or what. But I just don't know why we're spending more money than we've ever spent before for education. And what I understand, our test scores are lower than they've ever been.
Well, that's not true. Test scores are not lower in Lincoln County. Every school in Lincoln County has met and passed the goals that they were set. If you look at the Lincoln County Department of Education and count the number of, quote, administrators, you'll find it's considerably lower than any other school system, including city system, which has about a third as many students. One of the reasons there are some administrators in there is because we are required by the state and the federal to do multiple things. Safety, special education, truancy, is part of your headaches. So no, they don't educate them because we have mandates placed upon us and any other county government or city government. You got the mandates placed on by those folks up there. You have to follow.
I want to ask a question. Most of y'all know me. I was a teacher prior to being sheriff. Are there any teachers in this room? How many of you have ever paid attention to the turnover rate at Lincoln County High School when it comes to teachers? You might want to do that. I'll tell you why. Every year, 30 to 40% of the teachers at Lincoln County High School go somewhere else. You know why?
Because they make more money.
They can go across the state line and make $10,000 a year plus benefits doing the very same job they're doing in Lincoln County, Tennessee. The second thing is these evaluations, and I see an issue with this, and y'all probably gonna hate me just like some of these others, but nevertheless, when you evaluate a teacher based on what a student learns, how many of y'all have dealt with this new generation coming up now?
Yeah.
You couldn't teach them if you laid them down and drove it in their head. And then you evaluate your teacher based on this young thug that has no intentions of being in school when he's 18 years old anyway. So now your teacher's getting the rap for what the kid didn't learn. I know that sounds harsh, but it's the reality of it when you get right down to it, because I was there. I saw it firsthand. So, you know, I don't know which way that makes things go. I don't know that it has that much bearing on it, but on the same token, I was there and saw it. And it's not fair to the teacher to be evaluated based on what a kid learns, because if the kid don't want to know, then the teacher can't make him learn. On the same token, what you were talking about a while ago, when you went to school, you didn't have school shootings. You didn't have
Kids chewing gum and running down the hall, about the worst thing ever.
correct, you know, or smoking outside the hall if they had a smoking pass.
And you had a lot of parents involved in it back then
That's
too.
right.
Now, there's
You
just
had-
parents, a lot of them don't even have parents.
Right, you had this group of people right here that cared what their child was doing and took care of it when they got home. I mean, believe me, I felt the wrath of that too.
Second whooping.
That's it. What happened at school today, and you sit there and bite your lip because you knew what was coming next. That's not what we're dealing with anymore. It's not what the school system's dealing with. It's not what the sheriff's departments are dealing with. It's not what the SROs are dealing with. When a child stands up in class and looks at you and says, I hadn't done it, I ain't gonna do it, what are you gonna do about it? I had one do me that way. I went from being a cop to a school teacher. That's a bad combination. But that's the caliber of issues that these teachers are dealing with now. How you fix it, put Pryor back in school, Paddle back in school, and you'll fix that problem. So,
You're right.
you know, but we seem to be the silent majority. Yes, ma'am.
What Kerry just said about the teachers in Nashville could not want the child, is that the case in Lincoln County?
No, ma'am, it's not the case in Lincoln County,
No, ma'am.
but here's the problem. Just like this evaluation system, it goes back to that. If I fail half of my class, then did I not teach them or did they not learn? Now we're going back to this evaluation where the teacher failed half his class. What motivation does that teacher have to fail half that class if the teacher's going to get called on the carpet because his class is failing?
But in the same token, you in your business and my business, if you don't do a good job, you lose your job or you get punished for it some kind of way. And we have had some bad teachers. We've got great teachers, we've got all kind of teachers. There's got to be a way to get the bad teachers out of the way. And I don't know what that is, but that's what That's what that's trying to do. Some kind of way to make them accountable. If they're good teachers and they're trying and the students are, even if they're terrible students, if they're getting a little bit better, then that teacher's probably doing about as good as he or she can do.
Right.
But you just got to have some kind of accountability. And I think that's, teachers don't like it. I agree, Murray. They're mad.
You know, back to support what Murray just got through saying, if you can believe the 2010 census information that the government did, 21% of the adult population in Lincoln County do not have a high school diploma. And that is
I think it's worse than that in Bedford County.
Yeah, but you have to look back 30 years and it was higher than that. Much higher.
I wouldn't believe that.
Check. When I first came back to Fedville, I can't remember what I was involved with, but that's 25 years ago, and it was 56% did not have a education.
And Dexter, you might tell me if I'm right or wrong about this. We passed some kind of rule or legislation last year that in the 3rd grade, if you don't do a certain level on a test, they can't pass them up, because they found out what's happening at the 3rd and 4th grade. That's when they either get it or they don't get it. So what they were doing in 3rd grade students that weren't getting, they were just passing them on, like you said, and they were lost forever. They didn't have a chance to make it. So the goal is in the 3rd grade, if they don't get it, they got to repeat the 3rd grade until they do get it, because if they get it, they're going to get it the rest of their life. That's what the study has shown. So I think that's good, that you just don't pass them just because they're a troublemaker or just because you're supposed to. I think you got to, some kind of way, it's got to be a...
I'd like to clarify something. I've got nothing against teachers getting a raise. I think they're probably all underpaid to start with, but I guess the gripe I've got is like test scores. I do know that the tests have been dumbed down because there are, I'm not sure if they are.
Wait, let me stop you right there. That's true. How many years ago? 3 years ago? We had the 47th hardest test in the nation. In other words, there was 46 test states that were harder than our test. Now, we have number 2. So that was true 2 or 3 years ago. Right now, we've got the 2nd hardest test in the nation.
Well, I'm glad of that. I like that. But, you know, where I'm coming from is I think there's a lot of government waste. I know we have other things. We have problems and issues in school now that we didn't have 5 or 10 years ago when I was in school. You know, and probably what I'm talking about is not an issue here tonight. I'm talking about the way that the way that things are run, probably from Washington on down.
But let me assure you, and Murray will say amen to this, teachers have the hardest job in the county. And
I'll agree with that.
I would not teach, you couldn't pay me enough.
I never had blood pressure problems till I taught school. And hadn't had blood pressure problems since I've been sheriff, so if that gives you an
So
idea.
you'd rather deal with criminals than school?
If they need hit in the head, you can hit them. That's right. You know.
I've always said if the teachers are in it for the money, they're in it for the wrong reason. They need to get up and get them a good full-time job, working maybe 10, 12, 14 hours a day, if they want to make some money. Back when I was going to school a few years ago, the teachers were in it for the, well, not pleasure, but they thought it was their duty, and most of them were either well off or they didn't need the money. They weren't in it for the money. They were in it to teach, and of course you had the discipline there. If you get down to the money, I'm like a teacher like I am a preacher. There's no way you can pay a good preacher too much, and there's no way you can pay a poor preacher too little. You apply that to the teachers.
But they in it for the money, they in it for the wrong reason.
But on the other hand, though, they go to school, spend all that money getting the education to become a teacher, and I kind of disagree with you a little bit there, that, you know, that's gonna be their vocation, that's the way they're gonna make their living. True, they need to be a good teacher, but they can be a good teacher and also make a good living out of it. That's the way I look at it.
I'll say this, my wife is a teacher. She got up I passed her this morning when I was feeding cows at 10 till 6. She's at school at about 6:40, and she, you know, what time she gets done busted, it's 4 o'clock.
But you've got
And then-
your exception, man, I'll say that, yeah.
You know, it's a lot more, and I didn't realize it, but I see it's a lot of work they bring home. It's a lot more to it than what you think. And she teaches first grade, so I mean it's.
My text, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Go.
I have 5 or 6 teacher friends all across the United States. And one of the biggest issues that a lot of those teachers have is classroom supplies. They have to supply from Kleenex to pencils, papers, you name it, they have to supply it. A lot of the material, educational material, they have the paper and they print off a lot of the educational material because it's not provided. All these school lists, you go into Walmart just before school starts and you've got all the lists for all the schools of supplies that each one of the kids is supposed to have. Those supplies don't last 3 months. And most of the time, whatever those teachers have to have in their classroom for their kids, it comes out of their own pocket. I've got one teacher that spends over $1,000 a year of her own money just buying supplies and everything for her kids.
I witnessed that. I mean, Lincoln County's very fortunate to have the teachers they have. And they work hard, they spend their own money to educate these children. They spend their own time, their spouses spend their time helping them. But we're going to lose good teachers every year. I assure you of that. And I'm not here to even talk about teachers, but I've been there, I've seen that happen. Yes, ma'am.
Why are they having to put out that money? You've got all this money coming in, you've got a lot of administrative people probably making way more than teachers. Why are they having to spend money to get tools in there to teach the children? Why? To me, that seems like you're letting 50 teachers, you're like 50 different ways of teaching a subject come in when it should be the same across the board for all schools. She's providing what she thinks they need. It seems like that's a way you're letting some of this teaching come into the classroom that's very controversial, and not until it's too late that everybody finds out they're teaching something that wasn't supposed to be taught.
Why isn't there a line item for supplies for every school, every classroom?
There is. There's a line item for every school, not every, it goes to the principal and they divide it out.
It sounds like it's insufficient based on what we're hearing here tonight.
Yes, sir, and I think with the federal government, all you have to do is raise taxes and take care of that.
Why not setting some priorities?
We do.
When you put the budget out?
We do. I assure you that we do.
Can they not use some of that lottery money from the state instead of just?
That's just college.
That's just college.
That's just
yeah.
college.
Can they not change it and use some of it for?
Do
supplies?
anything, but it was created specifically for college education.
It would have to go back and be redone as a legislation and a law changed and a new bill and everything. And they're tweaking that lottery all the time, trying to get more and better uses for it.
I think, I may be wrong, correct me, if there's a surplus, it will be divided out to the public school systems for construction.
I don't know for sure.
But I don't think there's been a surplus in a long time. Because they keep giving bigger, payoffs so they get more people playing, so you don't have a surplus. Did you have something?
Yes, I just, kind of off that subject, but it is school. These, first week of school, everybody brings home something to sell. Like gets trickled down, does it actually amount to anything? I mean, your parents would be handing over a couple of dollars to pay for that classroom and
Of course, I'm not aware of that happening.
all the fundraising that goes on.
That's,
Does it really give the school anything?
normally the fundraisers for specific things, and I can't, speak to that because I don't know what each fundraiser is for. I don't think there's that much now because they don't ask me. And being the school board member, I'd be the first one that asks.
If that teacher is pulling money out of her own pocket to buy supplies for her classroom, what does that do for her grade score? If she's put money in there that she has, may look her like she's a better teacher than the one down the hall that maybe strapped for money and can't put extra in. That doesn't seem fair.
Well, I don't know if that has any.
What would happen if they didn't put it? If they just said, no, I refuse, I'm not going to spend money out of my pocket? Where would the supplies come from then?
I don't know. Probably, you're asking a lot of questions about what ifs and about things that I don't have any knowledge of because I'm not in that classroom. If you'll tell me who that teacher is, I'll be glad to go talk to her or him and see what's happening, why they have to do it, what they spend it for. If you'll tell me, specifically who it is.
Well, now that you know that there's a problem, why don't you go back to the school board?
I haven't heard a problem yet. If you'll just tell me the problem.
The supply problem is, I think these folks have been saying that there's a supply problem.
I've got to have somebody specific. You can't just have a supply problem in, county, each school. Tell me which teacher is having a problem, and I'll tell you why.
What if this teacher comes to you, we give you a name, and you talk to her, and she tells you all this, what's that gonna do for her test score?
Not a thing as far as I'm involved.
That's what I'm thinking, see?
No, don't start up with these what ifs. That gets you nowhere. Give me a specific example. Give it to me, just me and you. Nobody else will know. And I'll investigate it, and I'll come back to you and I'll tell you.
I can give you specific examples, but I'm gonna go to them first and tell them.
Okay, well, you do that. You do that, and then you get with me.
Well, let me ask you a different way. Ask you the same question a different way. What are the needs of supplies in the normal classroom, and how does the school board address that issue?
Each year, the principals give to the superintendent and the school board their requirements. The school board and the superintendent has money that's supplied to them from the county, and we divide it up. It goes to where it's needed the most. We have budget meetings. You are welcome to come. Sunshine Law is in strong force for the school board anytime. Anytime. Yes, ma'am.
Why can't some administrative people do a survey with all the school teachers asking
They know.
what kind of money are you putting in to buy your supplies? Just a generic form that all teachers could fill out, but everything's to be the same.
I'll ask that. I'll talk to the superintendent tomorrow. If you give me your number, I'll call you, tell you.
All right. Well, I'll give it to you after.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be better. Give me a frank cost. Let's back up just a little bit. What started all this conversation was me telling you something is really great happening to the school system, where that the teachers were going to be rewarded for doing a good job. Now, it seems like now we're shooting at each other. Not each other, shooting at me. Because I brought the good news and y'all keep throwing at it and throwing at it and say, well, it's not good news. Believe me, it is. If you're a teacher, you're really excited. And you should be too, because it's not costing the taxpayers of the county a penny. We are going to go from the lowest paid teachers in the central south in central state, mid-state, to one of the highest paid. If you had been in the school board, on school board like I have for years, you've had, how can I say this? The county school teachers were paid at such a low rate that they migrated to the city because of a higher salary. They didn't even have to leave town. And that's because one of the reasons was the county has over 200 teachers and the city has 60. So they can pay them a little bit better.
Mr. Sullivan, I don't think anybody was taking pot shots at you. I think we're attacking the school system. You just happen to be in the line of fire.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm excited for the good news, but I hope some of the questions we've raised here maybe gets some ideas in, or thoughts in your mind that you have not thought of that might not have come to light.
We've thought of it, but I just don't have the answers. And I think the main question that I'm hearing, or the concern is, why does a teacher have to pay for supplies, personal supplies? Is that so we get it in one little ball? Okay.
Dexter, didn't one of the middle schools get a state award, one of the top middle schools in the whole state, one of the Lincoln County middle schools?
Yeah,
Just recently.
it was South, and Unity has gotten it a couple of years ago.
So they're making some, people are noticing them here.
Anybody from the city here, don't be ashamed, just raise your hand. All of the Lincoln County schools met or exceeded their goals. All of the city schools, with the exception of the high school, since they hadn't been in the high school very long, did not. So no, we in the county are doing something right. Y'all should be proud of what the teachers and administrators. I'm just a civilian. I'm a board member. I just sit up there and, I don't do much work compared to the teachers and administrators. Sorry to hold you.
No, you're good. Mr. Dalton, you'll say anything? Anybody else? Several come in late. Anybody else have any questions about anything? Comments? Verbal abuse? It's all you. Ready.
Well, if that's all the questions we're gonna have tonight, then I guess that's all the answers we'll have, thank goodness. We've done very well. I have a little, this is not a question, but it is a question, and as Dexter says, I'm not shooting at you now, Dexter. I'm inquisitive about, I've heard our county mayor, I've heard Dexter, I've heard an awful lot of our leaders say it's not costing our county taxpayers anything. I want to know who the county taxpayers are. Is that not all of us? Okay, I also want to ask a question. I said we're going to get this grant. Not going to cost the county anything or the state anything. Who is the state? Is that not us again? I also see things, we're going to get a grant, going to get this, not going to cost county, state, anything. Who are we again? Are we not the county, state, government? Where have we built the $16 billion deficit? Did it not start right down here in Lincoln County, Marshall County, Giles County? That's my question. And with that, I want to, if nobody else has an answer or has anything else to add to this, well, we're going to turn this, adjourn and turn this meeting over to the representatives or whatever we might have that's going to answer your questions about the correction. And again, we really appreciate everybody coming out, and if nothing happens, we'll have another one of these meetings approximately 3 to 6 months, and we'll have one at Broomfield and at Howell about every 3 months. So thank you again. Everybody's welcome to stay for this other meeting, and It's not that we are against